Okay, so this is a video demo on how to set up a group or resource schedule. And we're going to start from the very beginning. So you're going to go up to the navigation menu and click the navigation icon. In the navigation menu, you're going to select Hospital Setup. And in the Hospital Setup screen, you're going to go to Unit Setup and find your unit. If you are the PM, you might have to set up a unit. We're going to be using the GI service for small animal, which I have just recently set up, and I'm going to go through how I set that up with you. So once you found your unit, the things you want to pay attention to for the schedule are, did you select the receiving unit? So making sure that the receiving unit selection is on is going to ensure that you have a public schedule. So you want to make sure that's turned on. Obviously, you want to make sure that your unit is active. And then the option that you have, one option that you have is if you choose this, only assigned users can schedule appointments, then the tie-in to this, and this does exactly what it sounds like, it only allows assigned users to schedule appointments for your service. If you do that, you're going to have to go over to this assigned users tab, and you're going to have to add what assigned users are assigned to the unit. This also controls who can see incoming requests for your unit. So the same employee that's assigned to this area will also be able to go to the requests area and see what's coming in as requests. But that's irrelevant to your schedule at the moment. All right, so once you've got your unit details assigned correctly, I'm actually going to uncheck this because I want my front desk scheduling to be able to schedule appointments, and I don't want to have to assign all of the front desk individuals to my assigned users for this case scenario. But you could, of course, do that if you have dedicated schedulers for particular units. You can do that, and they will only those will be able to assign, or only those people would be able to schedule appointments. All right, so once you've done that, I'm just going to save. The other two areas that you need to do to set up are the schedule and the appointments types. And I always start with schedules. And this area would be blank when you first came onto it. And you're just going to add. Now, if you're doing a resource schedule, you want to add a schedule for every resource that you want to include on your resource schedule. So you're going to add. So in this case, we have 2 faculty, an intern, and 2 residents. So I'm just going to add my additional 2 residents. Oops. And I do encourage you to, to include something identifiable if you're using something generic like the number of residents or faculty that you have, because in one of the lists of the setup, you're going to have to choose the schedule name, and you don't necessarily choose the unit that it's assigned to. So if I just name this resident 1 and I do that for multiple units, I'm not going to know which resident 1 belongs to GI versus which resident 1 belongs to another service. And then if you have a group already created, you can either click in the box or hit the drop down and choose the resource schedule. If you haven't yet done that, so if this is the first schedule I was creating, or if I wanted to create multiple types of resource schedules, the little plus button will allow you to add a new resource schedule or a group schedule. And basically the group, all the schedules assigned to the same group are going to show as a resource or a group schedule that are linked together and can't be viewed separately. If you want to add comments, you can, and then you simply save. So there's my resident 1. I'm going to do one more just to make sure that I have all my... Oh my goodness, I can't type today. Alright, it's public, it belongs to the schedule, and save. Alright, now I have all of my schedules, and what I'm going to see on the schedule screen is just going to be this GI resource schedule, because I've assigned every one of my schedules to the resource schedule. If I wanted more than one schedule to show, so say I wanted some other kind of schedule for this service, I could simply do add and not assign it to a group. That would create a separate schedule that could be turned on or off. Or of course you could add more than one resource group schedule as well. So If you're something like a surgery service and you have patients you regularly see, but then you also have like a separate schedule for things that you're consulting, you could create two groups, one that's a resource schedule for the service and one that's a referral or consult schedule for the service. However, that service is best organized. Then once I've got my schedule set up, I want to go over to appointment types. And this is where you indicate what types of appointments happen in this service. So in this case, we have a, helps if you're actually in the area. So I'm going to create an urgent type of appointment, and anytime you create an appointment type, you need to tie it to the default episode type. So in this case, I'm going to say this is gastroenterology. Most of my urgent cases are outpatient, and so I'm going to link that appointment type to the outpatient episode type, and I'm going to save that. What the episode type drives in the system is going to be your automatic communications, if you've set any up for the COM work list, as well as deficiencies, and that will be covered in a separate training, but what episode type you assign it to is going to drive sort of what we bounce off the requirements for deficiencies. I'm going to save that. I'm going to add another. And call it a diagnostic exam is also outpatient typically for this service. And a recheck. Right, so, and these are the only types of appointments that I run through this service. So you could add as many or as few as you like. And you can run as many or as few as you like. And just tailor it to your unit. Now, once you've set this basic stuff up, now you want to go to the schedule setup screen. So we're going to go to navigation. Click the navigation icon. And then in hospital setup data, you're going to go down to schedule setup and click on that. And then in your units, we're going to search for the GI unit and perform a search. So what that does is allows me to see just what schedules I have open for that service, or what schedules I have active for that service. Now, notice there's a status, and the system defaults to active schedules. And I only bring that up because for this example, it's a brand new unit I've created. It's brand new stuff, so I know I don't have any inactive schedules. But sometimes you might want to create like a temporary faculty. So say sometimes you have extra faculty, and when you do, they have a certain set schedule. You may want to create a schedule and just inactivate it, not make it available until that scenario happens. So you might want to search for any, but the default goes to active. And then here are my active schedules. Now, nothing's currently on these schedules, so how do I get appointments on my schedule? The way you do that is you're going to go to the Templates tab. And again, you're going to search for your unit. And anytime you have these cells, you can either type in your unit or begin to type in your unit and choose, or you can just scroll through the drop-down like I did earlier. And then I'm going to add a template. Now, for each of my resources, I'm going to add a basic template. So that's going to be the generic template for Faculty 1. And you can name these whatever you need to, but your schedule that you're going to tie it to is going to be related. So I'm going to name mine very similarly. You can be completely different, or you can be similar, just like I was. I'm going to make this a 2-week rotating schedule, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to add another, and then you just go through for all the ones that you need. And last but not least, my GI resident 2. Alright, so now I have a slated template for each of the resources that I have. And if I click on any one of them, or if I click on the edit icon, that will let me set the template. So I'm going to click on Faculty 1. Now, one little warning for you guys, if you're like me, I'm used to weeks running from Monday to Sunday, and in VetView, the week runs from Sunday through Saturday. So it defaults on the first week of a 2-week schedule. So if you had a 3-week schedule, you'd see a tab for each of the 3 weeks. And I'm going to click over to next day. Now, I prefer to set my template, my appointments up visually where I'm looking at the day, but you could just go to add time slot and detail the day and time. It makes more sense to me just because of the way my brain is wired to go to the day and add it there. I feel like it makes me make fewer mistakes, basically. So on Monday, my Faculty 1 has a 10 o'clock diagnostic appointment. And for this example, we're going to say all of our appointments are an hour long. You can change this if you need to. So if I wanted to make it half hour, I can do 0 hours and 30 minutes. But we're going to default all of our appointments to an hour just to make things easy. If I had double-clicked on the wrong time, I could fix the time here. And you always want to make sure you're on the day you're supposed to be on. But again, I like to navigate to the day I'm setting up just to make sure I've got my ducks in a row. And then if you need to add a further description, you can. So if you have specific types of diagnostic appointments that you want in that slot, you can add a further description here. And there's a space for comments as well. The default status for the appointment is open, but you do have a blocked out option. And if you have the blocked out on, you're going to see that appointment slot highlighted, and your schedulers will have to have a specific permission in their profile to allow them to schedule appointments in blocked out appointment slots. Then I'm just going to save that, and you'll see it creates a appointment in that time slot on the day. All right, so I've got a 10 o'clock and a 2 o'clock diagnostic for my Faculty 1 on this day. Now, if I was scheduling resources, say I scheduled all of my residents in one or all my faculty on one particular resource schedule, if that's the case, then you can go here and if you have more than one appointment at the same time, you can click anywhere on the schedule, or you can do an add a time slot. But let's say I have 2 10 o'clock slots. I could click on the 10 o'clock slots, or in this case, anywhere else on the screen, and change my time to 10 o'clock and add a new diagnostic appointment and save that, and you'll see it splits the screen. So the screen is dynamic in terms of how many appointments are in what slots. I'm going to delete that just because in this case I only have the one. So that's Monday, and then I proceed through the days to set my entire week. So on Tuesday, we're going to say faculty only takes urgent appointments, and they take it at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And then on Wednesday, they're back to their 10 o'clock diagnostic. And then they have a 2 o'clock recheck and a 3 o'clock recheck. Then on Thursday, they have a 10 o'clock diagnostic and a 2 o'clock urgents. And on Friday, we're back to the 10 o'clock diagnostic and 2 rechecks. A 2 o'clock recheck. And a 3 o'clock recheck. Right, so that's my week 1, Monday through Friday. And then on week 2, again, make sure you go to next day if you're like me and assume the day starts on Monday. On week 2, they have sort of the opposite schedule. So on week 2, they do rechecks at 2 and 3. On Tuesday, they sort of have a normal day, so they have a diagnostic at 10. Switch it up a little bit. On Wednesday, they just have a 2 o'clock recheck, a 3 o'clock recheck, Right, now you've got your 2 weeks set up for Faculty 1, and you basically are just going to go through and do the exact same thing for each of your resources. So now I've got a resource with appointments on it for my GI Faculty 1. But nothing's happened with that template yet. So what I want to do is I want to select that template and I want to apply it. And I'm going to turn this on from the 21st of May through July 15th. Now, because this is a schedule assigned to a resource, the template got pushed out to the schedule, but the schedule has to be activated or deactivated because it's part of a group. So that is what this schedule active log is for. So I'm going to go to my schedule active log. I'm going to find my GI unit. And you can either search for the entire unit or you can, I like to do the entire unit so I can see what all I've scheduled. But if you want to be specific to the Faculty 1, you can search for that as well. And you'll see I have no currently active schedules for Faculty 1. So I have to turn on the schedule. And that's because we recognize that sometimes the faculty person is on vacation and you may want to turn that Faculty 1 off. In which case you can not activate the schedule over a period of time, and that individual schedule will not show on the resource schedule during that time period. So the schedule active log seems like an extra step if you're just using resource slots like for faculty number 1 without a specific person. But if you're the type of institution that schedules your specific faculty in, so instead of having a schedule named Faculty 1, you might have a schedule named Dr. Smith, because Dr. Smith has a different schedule when he's on than Dr. Joe does. And in that case, this schedule active log becomes a lot more useful. But in the case like this, where we've done the generic roles, you're going to go to your schedule active log and you're going to hit the little plus button. And then you're going to turn it on for whatever range is applicable. So right now we're going to turn it on for the entire block that we were setting up. So May 21st to July 15th. Save and close. And now if I go to my schedule, and right now, notice show my default schedules as the defaults. I'm actually going to add the GI schedule to my defaults. So I'm going to go to Tools, I'm going to change my default schedules, which is the easiest thing to do when you're adding new, when you're setting something up, if you want to be able to check along the way. I want GI, here we go. So I want all of these schedules to come over into my generic. So I'm going to go pull this over, pull that over, pull that over, pull this over, and pull that over. Now, one note, in the very near future, you're going to see only the resource itself, the group name of the schedule shown, and you can bring the whole group over or not bring the whole group over. But until we get that fixed in the system, you just need to add each of the individual schedules in. And of note, I was working in podiatry earlier, so I'm just going to turn off podiatry. I'm going to turn on GI. If you turn any one of the included schedules on and it's assigned to a group schedule, the entire group's going to be on. But basically, the display these schedules gives you which ones are in your list, and then if you turn them on, it's which one's default is on by default when you come to the screen. So I'm just going to save that, and I'm going to refresh my screen. And now you'll see my GI resource schedule is automatically on when I come onto the screen. And I've only got one GI faculty column showing right now because remember the only schedule that I activated was GI faculty 1. But if I scroll through, I'll see my appointments as they were on the schedule. And if I look at my week, I can see my entire week for that particular resource because I pushed it out. All right, so let's go back to navigation, schedule setup. And we're going to add templates for each of the other resources. And I'm only going to do faculty 2 just to show you what your schedule begins to look like as you build it. So here's my faculty 2. We're going to give them a 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock recheck. One o'clock and 2 o'clock rechecks. Just did, yeah, that should be reference, okay. Sorry. And a 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock recheck. So that's week 1 done, and then we're just going to sort of flip it for week 2. So the questions we normally get from folks when they're setting this up, and notice I just added that to Sunday. So I told you my brain just sort of goes there. I'm just going to go into each of these and just change them to Mondays. And then I'm going to refresh the screen. That took them off my Sunday and moved them to Monday. Okay, and then Tuesday, we just got a 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Anyways, the questions we normally get are, can you copy the day? The answer is right now, no. We do have a ticket in for that. That will be worked eventually. And can you copy paste the appointments? Like, could I right click and copy? The answer is no, but we do also have a ticket in for that. So if you had like 3 appointments across that time period, you could copy paste and it would just start dividing the screen out basically. That's less of a resource schedule issue than it tends to be if you're not using the schedules as a resource schedule. But nonetheless, those are the answers to those questions. The other question I get a lot is whether or not I lost my train of thought, sorry. The other question I get a lot is can we change the default time frame, the default duration of the visit? And the answer is right now no, but that is also a ticket that we have in to be able to set your system defaults to half an hour or 15 minutes, whatever your typical appointments are for the system. Alright, so now I've got my template done. I'm just going to go back to the template screen and apply my template. So let's find templates, GI. We also get the question a lot, can you give me a back button? And there's also a ticket in so that when you are in that template creation screen, they give you a button that lets you go back and it pull up this instead of having to go through and search again. So now I've got my Faculty 2 template created. Remember, I have to apply the template. And we're just going to push it out over the same period of time. Apply. And because this is part of a group schedule, I have to go and put it in as an active unit as well, active schedule as well. So I'm going to pull up specifically that Faculty 2, and then I'm going to set it active from May 21st to July 15th, save and close. And now if I take this out and I search, if I wanted to see for my entire unit what I have scheduled, now I can see I've got a Faculty 1 and a Faculty 2, and they're both scheduled to start on the 21st of May and end on the 15th of July. So now if I go view my schedule, you'll see 2 columns, and that's how you sort of build your resource schedule. And I can see all the available appointments for the day. And that is how you create your resource schedule. Thanks for listening.